family first. It's a noble goal.
They are all into each other. The love is something special.
But what happens when you're stuck between the family you're born into and the one you create?
They isolated themselves and actually became more enmeshed with each other.
Does blood truly run thicker than water? Or can the allure of romantic love ultimately wash all those lifelong loyalties away?
He's under a tremendous amount of pressure now to take care of all of them. They are now a family of 6. Hard to do when you're underemployed.
She sought to have those children live with their biological father, and she didn't like that.
She allegedly asked, does she know any shooters who can take her out?
September 11th, 2017, Detroit, Michigan. It's just before dawn on a Monday morning in America's Motor City.
Detroit is a city of hustle and bustle. Yes, we have blight, yes, we have crime, but I see Detroit as a movement.
You know, you always have that small element of crime, and I don't think that any city can get away from that.
For Detroit police, the day is already off to an urgent start when an emergency call comes in from the city's west side at 6:30 a.m. The caller is a local resident named Walter Knight. He's calling about Tiffany Hunter, the mother of his child.
Tiffany and Walter had a very close relationship, even though they were no longer in a dating relationship.
Walter tells the dispatcher he had grown worried about Tiffany in the middle of the night and decided to check on her.
Walter heard nothing from Tiffany, and he became concerned. He called continually, and there was no response. Walter went to Tiffany's home.
He has a key to the house. He owns the house.
As Walter searched the house for Tiffany, he became more and more uneasy. Something was wrong.
When he walks in, then he finds her lying in a pool of blood.
It was very traumatic. It was blood everywhere. It seemed that she had been brutally assaulted.
Walter tells police to send help fast, so they dispatch officers to Walter's location right away.
When emergency crews arrived, they told him the news that he never thought he would hear. Tiffany was dead. What happened to Tiffany? Who would do this?
41-year-old Tiffany Hunter was a beloved member of her community, known for her lively personality and endless creativity.
She was a mother and a wife and was trying to start her own business. Tiffany wanted to be her ear, nose, and throat specialist.
But the road to opportunity hadn't always been so clear for Tiffany. Growing up in Mobile, Alabama, she faced her share of challenges after an unplanned pregnancy at just 15 years old.
You can handicap yourself by having children early. It doesn't mean that's the end of the story. It just makes things very difficult for you to get past or overcome those circumstances. That was the situation that Tiffany found herself in.
To support her daughter, Amber, Tiffany had to forego college for a job in retail. But over the years, she learned to make the best of it.
Despite some obstacles, she became a manager, a leader, and she also had more kids following her first child.
Tiffany had never been really lucky in love. Both of her children's fathers had not stuck around, and she was left to fend for herself.
She put all of her energy into her kids. They were her world. She didn't have anyone else.
She was especially close to the oldest, Amber. As such a young mom, they practically grew up together. Still, the desire to complete her college degree was always there for Tiffany. Shortly before her 30th birthday, she decided to go for it and moved her family to Detroit. Soon after landing in her new city, Tiffany thought she'd found love in Walter Knight.
Eventually, the relationship blossomed, which led to the birth of her third child, another daughter.
But her romance with Walter was ultimately short-lived.
For whatever reason, their relationship didn't exactly work out, but Walter still had the wherewithal to look out for Tiffany, making sure that the mother of his child and his child still had a place to live.
Walter owned the house that Tiffany and her kids were living in. So Walter was still in Tiffany's life. Tiffany tried her best to get back into the dating world and even had one more child, Martha. But with all of her energy going into her 4 kids, there was rarely time for anything else.
This was only compounded when Tiffany's daughter Amber started a family of her own. Now she have not only her own kids, but Amber and her boyfriend's children living there too.
By the fall of 2017, however, Tiffany's load was starting to get lighter. Amber and her boyfriend had moved out and gotten a place of their own, and the rest of Tiffany's children were all teenagers or older. They didn't need as much attention from her anymore. For the first time in forever, Tiffany was finally able to focus on herself.
She had just completed her bachelor's degree, Marygrove College, and she was going back for her master's.
She also just started dating a new guy named Noah.
Tiffany saw Noah as a strong presence and looked at him as a protector. She was just starting to feel out where the relationship could go, but she was really attracted to him.
Here, Tiffany is in her second act. She's in her prime. She's flourishing.
But now, the beloved mother and grandmother has been found on the floor of her dining room, lying in a pool of blood. And her ex-boyfriend, Walter, is a total wreck.
The officers at that point, they secure the scene as best that they can. They start to make notifications. One of those notifications is to homicide. I get there, I go to where my partner was, and I can see the victim on the floor. She was laying on top of a pillow.
When they looked at the condition of Tiffany's body, they also realized that she was stabbed multiple times, almost 70 times. Who takes the time to stab someone and then put a pillow beneath their head?
My mindset was like, this is a rage thing, to stab a person. In my opinion, once or twice, okay, I didn't mean to do it. I kind of lost control of myself. But anything over 10 is suggesting that you are very angry and that you really want this to hurt this person.
It was very emotional. It was very intentional. This was a very personal murder. Who would do this? Why?
"41-year-old Tiffany Hunter had moved to Detroit to fulfill her dreams.
She managed to raise her children, and then she attempted to start or do a restart of her life and going back to school.
But now, her ex-boyfriend, Walter Knight, has walked into a nightmare. And Detroit police have no doubt they are working with a homicide.
She was a very well-respected person in her community and at work. So to see that happen to a person like that, it's like, why? Why does that take place?
She was stabbed in the face and in the head. It looks like they had to be from a knife. They also noticed that there's some blunt force trauma to the back of her head from a hammer or some other blunt force instrument.
Your mindset is, who has access to do this? We know nobody broke in on her because the door wasn't kicked. You can, see a little bit of disarray in the house. Blood stain on the floor, blood stains in the kitchen.
There in the kitchen, police find a promising piece of evidence.
We couldn't find a murder weapon, but we did find a lot of blood, as if somebody was trying to maybe wash it off. It was blood on the handles, the faucet. It was blood up underneath the sink on cleaning products and stuff like that. We swabbed blood. We took a lot of samples that we thought DNA was on.
A lot of times when you have a stabbing victim, the killer ends up cutting himself in the process. So it is possible that this blood could be more than just the victim's DNA. It could also be the killer's.
But it takes a while for that information to come back, the DNA testing to be done.
In the meantime, investigators build their potential suspect list.
There was no signs of forced entry in the home. This wasn't an armed robbery. It wasn't a robbery gone bad. It was someone that she knew. and someone who was very, very upset with her.
The only person at that time who had access, the ability to get in, was Walter. He had a key to the house, which he owns, by the way. And it was easy to look at that and say, we need to take a deep dive into this person.
Police start out by asking Walter about the last time he saw Tiffany. Walter says Tiffany had come over for dinner at his place Saturday night. The evening went late, so he offered to let her stay in his guest room.
Walter cares about Tiffany. He didn't want her leaving his house at an odd time of night, so she stayed the night, and then the next day they were supposed to go to their respective churches.
On Sunday morning, Tiffany left his house as planned. Walter says he had no idea it was the last time he would ever speak to her.
This is a very good friend, a former lover, former girlfriend, and the mother of his child, where he knew something wasn't right.
Unable to sleep, Walter says he got up around 4 a.m. Monday morning and headed for Tiffany's house. But it's this detail that brings more questions for police.
Walter had to be very, very concerned to go there at 4 o'clock in the morning. Why not wait till a decent hour in the morning?
He's telling police that he woke up around 4 a.m. worried, but he didn't call police until about 6:30 a.m. that morning. So what was he doing all of that time?
Apparently his car breaks down, so he borrows his mother's car to get over there.
After that happened, he makes it to the house, uses his key to get in, and then he discovers her deceased.
The fact that she had spent the night with him the night before is a little suspect, and that you don't call the police to do a well-being check. You go check on her yourself, but at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we already know that there's no signs of forced entry there.
Walter is telling police that Tiffany's children are all spread out these days, and she doesn't see them that much. So the odds of one of them being the ones that entered into the house was unlikely.
Their suspicion towards Walter only increases when he asks them who he thinks could be responsible for Tiffany's murder. That's when the grieving ex-boyfriend suddenly shuts down.
Walter not speaking to the police is actually a code of conduct in the streets, especially in the Detroit community.
Police know they aren't making any more leeway with Walter until he gets some rest.
He's tired, he's emotional, but so far police are not able to uncover anything that would prove that he's guilty. With almost 70 stab wounds, you would think that there would be like a speck of blood or something that he forgot to clean up. So the police had no choice but to let him go.
By now, the sun is starting to rise over the city, and residents of Tiffany's tight-knit community are beginning to wonder what's going on.
It was a decent neighborhood, very walkable. It was one of those neighborhoods where you can get out with your dog and your family.
Investigators start to canvass the neighborhood. Did anyone see anything? Did anyone hear anything?
The first thing we're looking for is who has a doorbell cam, who has surveillance on the outside, security cameras on the outside, but there were none. On the morning of September 10th, her neighbor described hearing screams from the house and then looking out of the window, but didn't see anything crazy, no cars speeding off, nothing that stood out to her as unusual other than hearing those screams. But she had the wherewithal to text Tiffany to say, hey, are you okay? She didn't receive a response, and it just kind of dissipated from there.
Police began to ask about coming and going of other people who've come to the house, and the neighbor's able to give some information to the police about someone that Tiffany had been dating, a person by the name of Noah.
After finding the body of 41-year-old Tiffany Hunter stabbed to death, Detroit police have been on the hunt for a suspect.
Her daughter Amber was busy with a family of her own, and her other kids were grown. Tiffany was starting a new chapter in her life, and it made it hard to track down those new people that were in her life.
Now, a neighbor of Tiffany's has brought a new person of interest to light. Her boyfriend, Noah Harmon.
There were rumors that Noah was physically abusive towards Tiffany. She was spending time with men in her life like Walter to help create distance from Noah so that she could feel safe.
When you get a person on your radar, But when a person of interest comes into the scene, we do a full workup on them. You know, we want to know what his criminal history was, if he was capable of doing this thing.
And that caused the police to look even deeper into Noah.
Eager to know more about Tiffany's latest love interest, police bring Noah Harmon in for an interview.
He came on his own free will. He was very emotional. We have this thing in the police department. The person who fighting for his life, the person that's telling me stuff that I didn't even ask about, that happened 2 months and 2 years ago, yeah, he probably the person is innocent. Noah was that guy.
Until the conversation starts to turn and it looks like now you're treating me or talking to me like I'm a suspect. And then he becomes defensive. I had nothing to do with the death of Tiffany.
Eventually, Noah insists he's done talking. So police turn to another popular investigative tool, the polygraph.
Now, what's interesting about this is that Noah actually fails this test. But it's important to note that failing a polygraph test is not indicative of guilt.
A lot of times the police would get a person to take a polygraph test, and if they fail it, then they confront them with it, and then ultimately, with a little more prodding, they come out with what the truth is. Well, Noah still held fast to his story that he had nothing to do with the death of Tiffany. He very convincingly was telling the police, look, I failed the polygraph test, but take my DNA.
Police agreed to take a sample of Noah's DNA and send it off for testing.
Forensics, on a case like this, or in most cases now, technology is your friend, right? So we were able to get his phone based on his information, where he was, who he was with. It was clearly obvious that he was not there.
There is one man police know was at the scene, Walter Knight. And as more time goes by, investigators keep coming back to the likely killer being one of these two men.
That's what we were doing. We were weighing it. Who's cooperating and who's not? Who's being elusive and who's telling the truth?
Walter said he had nothing to do with it, and even though we have him coming to our house at 4 o'clock in the morning with a key, but she's in a relationship with someone else. So it kind of brings everybody into the fold. Somebody's not telling the truth here as to what happened. One of these guys looks like they are the responsible one.
Police decide to bring both men back in for a follow-up interview. When they sit down with Noah, he once again seems willing to cooperate with police.
Noah did not pass his polygraph test, but he was compliant with the investigation. Noah was very forthcoming and wanted to engage with the investigators to be able to help solve this murder.
While the subject of his relationship with Tiffany had been difficult for Noah to discuss, when talk turns to her ex-boyfriend Walter, Noah doesn't hold back.
Noah identified that Walter and Tiffany had also had a history of conflict.
We have to dig a little deeper to see what's actually going on here. In doing so, we find out that the relationship with Walter and Tiffany wasn't all that great either.
Noah was able to identify it to the police that there was ongoing conflict and even violence that occurred throughout their relationship. So she decided to take out a protection order.
But an unforeseen twist in the case left everyone questioning the truth. Detroit homicide detectives are taking a closer look at two men that were in Tiffany Hunter's life at the time of her murder. But so far, it's been hard to build a case against her boyfriend, Noah Harmon.
Yeah, he had a checkered past, but did he have the means to do this? And does his checkered past mean that he has the accessibility to do this? And we found those answers to be no.
Noah actually had an alibi where he was with another woman.
When it comes to Tiffany's ex-boyfriend Walter Knight, however, police are learning it's an entirely different ballgame.
The key factor in this is this protective order against him. Why would Tiffany do this? What were the challenges in this relationship that led her to feel not safe around him?
Noah had shared with law enforcement that Tiffany was concerned because previously Walter had overstepped the boundaries, entered the home, and also threatened her because she was entertaining other men.
You have to understand that it was Walter's house. that Tiffany was in. And so Walter, from our understanding, he didn't like that.
When police confront Walter with these accusations, they're shocked to see he doesn't try to deny them.
He told me that he thought it was disrespectful that she had other men in the house. They were still having sexual relationships.
From Walter's perspective, there was no clear boundaries, and in unhealthy relationships, often there is no clear boundaries. Walter felt that he was free to do what he wanted to do.
As Tiffany was working to remove herself from her current love relationship, she found refuge with Walter Knight.
Walter, he admits that we didn't always have the perfect relationship, but that doesn't mean that I would do anything to harm her. In fact, she came to me because I was her place of safety. And that's why she was with me the night before, and that's why I was concerned about not hearing from her.
But when police try to dig in more to his whereabouts that night, once again, Walter starts to shut down.
When we talked to him, where were you? Well, I was here. No, you wasn't. Well, okay, I wasn't. Well, where were you? I don't have to tell you that. Did he have to tell us for clarity's sake and for manpower's sake? Yeah, he absolutely should have told us. Every time we engaged this person, it was deception. And so from a police standpoint, what does that look like for us, right? He got to be the guy.
That's when police offer Walter the same deal they made with Noah. Hand us your phone and let technology do the talking.
Walter, he allowed us to extract his phone, to find out, what kind of conversations that they were having, even where he was.
There's one data point in particular that's especially crucial in building Walter's timeline for police.
Walter's alibi was that in the middle of the night he endured some car trouble, and so he had to contact family members in order to provide transportation.
That cell phone information put him there. If you're a savvy person, everybody knows that the police does cell phones now, right? That's a thing, right? Now, everybody knows that, you don't take your cell phone nowhere if you're getting ready to do something that you're not supposed to do. We started getting into his assets, his properties, to figure out what he owned, doing title searches and stuff like that. So we were really scrambling and really trying to connect him to this case. And with the information that we had based on what he was giving us, I truly feel like had we presented a warrant for him, it would have gotten signed.
There's just one more piece of evidence the police need to build their case: DNA. But when the results of blood found at the scene come in, they bring disheartening news.
The DNA was not a match to Walter Knight or Noah Harding.
It's a big blow for investigators who've spent months building a case against Walter.
We were actually going after the wrong person, and it wasn't because we were trying to, railroad him. It was because he had such a disdain for law enforcement, and his position was, I don't have to tell you anything. And because he was so deceiving and untruthful, it was like, okay, he has to be the guy. The worst feeling in the world as a homicide detective, in my opinion, is to work a case and not being able to go to a person's family and say, we got the person that killed your baby. To let a case go cold with no leads is the worst feeling in the world.
5 months after Tiffany Hunter's murder, in February of 2018, an unexpected call promises to break the case wide open.
A few weeks after they are able to establish alibis, they get a tip.
We were in the office and Detective Clemens get a call.
The caller is saying he is very concerned about his daughter. He tells police that he's the father of Tiffany's youngest daughter, Martha. Martha has been devastated since her mother's death, but recently he learned that there is more to the story.
Martha had disclosed to her father that Amber had actually asked her to help kill her mother.
It's been 5 months since 41-year-old Tiffany Hunter was murdered inside her Detroit area home. Now, police may finally be on their way to getting some answers, after a man comes forward claiming his daughter Martha Ferguson knows the killer.
Martha's father contacted the police and disclosed that she was concerned that Tiffany actually was murdered by her daughter.
On February 17, 2018, Martha Ferguson and her father agreed to meet with police and provide a statement.
He brings her in and she lays the whole thing out.
Amber wanted her mother out of her life. She was searching for someone to actually bring her mother to a demise.
Martha says that Amber had always butted heads with her mother. Only 15 years apart in age, Amber sometimes felt like she had a peer when she wanted a parent. Amber had fallen into her mother's same path of getting pregnant at a young age, growing up too fast.
The relationship with her ex-husband, Carl, didn't work out. And at the same time, she needed support from her mom, but she didn't want to take her mom's advice.
Tiffany was always putting pressure on Amber to get a job, pull more weight in her relationship with her boyfriend, Carl, trying to push her daughter out of the nest a bit more, when Amber was feeling like she needed her mom more than ever.
She went through the motions. She got married to her baby father, Carl, and tried to accept this life as her own.
But it wasn't until Amber met her current husband, Javante Wakefield, that her family frustrations turned into fiery hatred.
Javante was someone she felt she could connect to. She felt understood for the first time.
Javante promised to take care of her, completely changed her world around. He was her dream come true.
But Martha says the more time Amber spent with Javante, the more her family began to notice a change in her personality.
They are all into each other. The love is something special. He'll do anything for her, she'll do anything for him. It's just that tight of a bond for them. They're all over social media, they're hugged up. Javante Wakefield may have bitten off a little more than he could chew in getting with Amber and adding to the family, because she comes to the table with 2 children. They have 2 more children together. He's under a tremendous amount of pressure now to take care of all of them. They are now a family of 6. Hard to do when you're underemployed in Mobile, Alabama, so he comes to Detroit looking for opportunity.
In the meantime, they all have to move in with Tiffany.
She felt like Amber should have taken more of an ownership role over her life, as opposed to living with her and having her now husband since 2014 living with her.
But when Tiffany was finally able to push Amber out on her own, Martha says that things only got worse.
There was financial instability, and that often caused conflict. Amber and Javante did not feel like they had enough support within their family to make some changes. And so they isolated themselves and actually became more enmeshed with each other.
They are living in a state of squalor. They're just barely in a home. They're almost homeless. To add insult to injury, Amber's first husband, Carl, is looking to take his 2 children from Amber because he doesn't like the conditions that they're living in. Amber's mom, Tiffany, is siding with Carl.
She sought to have those children live with their father, their biological father. And Amber didn't like that at all. She didn't like that.
Martha tells police that Amber was convinced this was the happiest she had ever been. She couldn't risk having her mother take it all away.
Amber had let Martha know that she did not want her mother to actually participate in the investigation or the court procedures regarding her against her kids.
That's when Martha says Amber came up with a plan that could keep her family intact, just the way she wanted. According to Martha, Amber was under the impression her mom had a hefty life insurance policy.
Really, the motivation for the money was to please her spouse, Javante. Javante wanted the money.
I'm desperate. I know that Tiffany has a life insurance policy on her life, of which the beneficiary is going to be Amber, her first child. If something happens to Tiffany, then that may be the solution. That may be the answer to all our problems.
Amber tells Martha that she needs to get rid of Tiffany. It's the only way to get the financial freedom that her husband desperately wants. She does not want her mother to go to court to talk against her and Javante when it comes to the co-parenting.
Amber allegedly goes to Martha and asks Martha, does she know any shooters who can take Tiffany out?
But when Martha refused to have any part of it, Amber and Javante were convinced they could carry it all out themselves.
So Martha actually shares with the police investigators that Amber told her on September 9th that they were going to commit the crime.
Amber told Martha that Javante went in through the window of her mother's house, snapping a picture once he was safely inside.
He takes a selfie with a painting in the background that Amber knows is in Tiffany's house to show Amber that I am here and I'm waiting on her to get home.
It was a significant thing because it was in his phone, it was in the tablet, it was in the devices that they were communicating about that Amber's sister told us about. She said, hey, they communicating on tablets and phones through Facebook Messenger or whatever.
Police pull the phone records and find all Martha promised and more. On March 5th, 2018, they are ready to serve warrants to both Amber Hunter and her husband, Javante Wakefield. There's just one problem.
Unfortunately, they can't find Javante and Amber because they're on the run.
At this point, where we had a vision board in the office with Amber's picture on it that said, I'm going to get you, fill in the blanks. That's what our focus was.
Thanks to a tip from Tiffany Hunter's youngest daughter, Martha, police finally have two clear suspects in their sights. Tiffany's oldest daughter, Amber Hunter, and her husband, Javante Wakefield.
Once we got the story from Martha, we started, obviously, it was like, okay, the flame is on now. We were at a simmer, and now we on high.
The Detroit police, coupled with the FBI, zones in on Amber and Javante to bring them back into custody.
And we were getting information. She was paid out the insurance money from her mom's death. And we started running her cars. It just started coming together.
Soon, police are able to trace the couple miles outside of Detroit to Youngstown, Ohio.
They used that insurance money to start this bakery business in Youngstown. And ironically, that is how we found them. We were able to get on the phone with the authorities in Youngstown, and it just all started coming together. It was like watching a movie, for real. You know, it just all started, the pieces were falling in place.
Law enforcement followed the trail to Youngstown, Ohio, where they raid the home of Amber and Javante.
Javante and Amber, they don't put up a fight. They go peacefully. The jig is up. We've been found out. We were living a high life as a result of what we did, but the cost of what we did is about to come into fruition now.
On March 9th, 2018, Javante Wakefield and Amber Hunter are taken into custody and charged with the murder of Tiffany Hunter.
Obviously, we went in and we confiscated all electronic devices because we had got the information from Martha that they were communicating over the electronic devices and Facebook. Detective Clemens and I, we found this letter. The letter was an apology letter to Tiffany saying that I'm sorry for what I did.
But when police bring Javante in for an interview back at the station, he's not as quick to take the blame.
Like I said, then I'm telling you now, I had nothing to do with it or have nothing to hide.
He was just kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. What about the text messages you guys were doing over Facebook and that kind of stuff?
What text messages?
There was some communication between you guys two folks.
I mean, of course, me and her were married, so we're going to take
No, I understand that. And there's some pictures, you know? Some of this is ringing a bell.
pictures.
Yeah, when you were inside the house, at Tiffany's house.
What pictures, though?
His position was prove it. I didn't do it. And he stayed there. That was his position.
Can I see my lawyer?
Yeah, if you want to talk to your attorney, I'm done. We can't talk. You know that, right? Okay. Nope, I appreciate it.
As Javante lawyers up and effectively ends communication with police, investigators turn their attention to Amber.
She was very smiley, really nonchalant, kind of like, yeah, I hear you, but no. Politely telling me no, as if she had it all figured out. I probably got about maybe 10 questions in, you know, or who's Tiffany Hunter to you? My mom. What's your relationship to Javante? My husband. How long y'all been married? You know, just some general stuff, right? And just before I could get into the meat of it, she was like, yeah, I don't want to talk no more. I want a lawyer.
But when the couple hears their charges announced for the first time in court days later, suddenly, Amber is ready to change her tune.
Then it was like, yeah, this is real.
Amber entered into a plea offer, which was 25 years to 50 years. That's a reduction in the charge from a first-degree murder to a second-degree murder.
A plea agreement, you get to talk to the prosecutor and you get to have your come to Jesus moment and you get to say whatever it is without any further penalty. So the prosecutor will say, okay, I'll give you this, but you gotta tell me the truth as to what happens.
During the preparation of the plea agreement, Amber disclosed to investigators that Javante was the mastermind and actually correlated him with the crime.
She's literally throwing Javante under the bus. This was his plan to get my mother's insurance proceeds because of the conditions that we were in. This was all his idea, not mine, his idea.
Amber goes along with Javante's plan because she loves him so much and she feels killing her mother is the only way that they can stay together. Amber doesn't hate her mom. She's motivated by her obsession with Javante and the fact that she does not want to lose him.
That night, Javante climbed in through a window of the home. Then he proceeded to wait for Tiffany to get home.
Tiffany was with Walter. When she left him, she comes home.
No, I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
And Javante strikes her in the back of the head with a hammer. When you're in a rage or when you are uncontrollably doing so, I mean, yeah, 69 times is plausible.
He's in such an adrenaline rush that he didn't realize he cut himself in the process and that he's left DNA all over the crime scene.
Amber says that after he did the murder, he got on the bus. And on the way to the bus, he threw the hammer away. He kept the clothes and put them in bags and got rid of them. You know, he destroyed the evidence. This is what she's saying.
On January 17th, 2019, Amber Hunter pleads guilty to second-degree murder and is sentenced to 25 to 50 years in prison.
Once Javante was faced with the reality of the impact of the legal system, he realized that he was not able to actually beat the case because Amber identified him as the mastermind, and he decided to take the plea agreement himself.
More than 2 years later, in April 2022, Javante Wakefield finally accepted a second-degree murder plea as well.
You never really know what really happened. It's always, we call it a three-sided coin. It's Amber's version, it's Javante's version, and then there's the truth.
Javante and Amber actually echoed each other's attitude and behaviors. Even though that they were problematic, both of them encouraged each other and influenced each other to commit the crime.
This was one of those cases where communication would have solved this, but because nobody knew how to communicate in this case, it ended up in the death of Tiffany Hunter. I think if everybody knew how to convey and respect the feelings of everybody else or each other, she would still be here.
What's so unfortunate about this case is that Tiffany never gets to realize her comeback story. All of Tiffany's dreams and aspirations died on that day.
Marriage can bring a new chapter for many. The passing of a baton from your old family to new. But the vow to be together until death do us part takes on a different meaning when you're dealing with murder. The safety and security of the bond you've created can be hard to hold on to when you're separated by bars. New love is the best kind of love.
They kind of have this whirlwind romance, right? They fall fast.
And when it becomes more than just undeniable attraction.
His family had took her in. She felt like Joshua Nicker's family was her family.
You become desperate to hang on to your man, no matter the cost.
She's thinking that we're just gonna beat him up, teach him a lesson, but things take a turn.
In the chaos of that moment, it had gone further than I imagined.
Desperation can lead you down a dangerous road.
So she then had a decision to make about how much further she wanted to go.
And cost you everything that matters most.
She lost the things that were most important to her, the people who were most important to her, everything.
April 1st, 2017, Long Island, New York. The sun has yet to dawn on one of New York's most famous suburbs, one residents affectionately call Strong Island.
Long Island is broken up into primarily two counties. We have Nassau County and Suffolk County. One of the primary reasons is because the homes out here tend to be a bit less expensive. You know, even if you're looking for someplace that maybe has better school districts where you can really have that suburban living.
While Suffolk County offers upscale suburban living, it has its share of underserved communities too, like the small hamlet of Wyandanch.
Wyandanch, what you would consider an underprivileged neighborhood within the suburbs.
The things that you see in Wyandanch, you won't really find in any other areas of either Suffolk or Nassau County, right? The abandoned houses, things of that nature.
It's a low-income neighborhood. It's mostly African Americans, some Hispanics, but it's dead set in the middle of Suffolk County, Long Island.
Suffolk County police officers are on routine patrol when they spot a frantic man trying to get their attention.
They flagged down the police officers, and they said that he had found a body. Police officers originally, I don't know if they believed them or not.
Hoping this is some kind of bad April Fool's joke, the officers follow the man to an abandoned house at the corner of 28th Street and Long Island Avenue. But once inside, no one's laughing.
So the space is completely run down. Clearly this is a house that no one has lived in quite some time. Paint is peeling, it's disheveled. It looks clearly like there's been some drug activity here, maybe some people who have been squatting.
The officers soon make a gruesome discovery. The body of a young black male is lying on the floor with a pool of dried blood around his head.
What was different about the condition of this body is it had no clothes on.
When homicide detectives arrive on the scene, they note the victim has sustained injuries consistent with a beating and possible strangulation.
Those are all indications that it's not an overdose. It's evidence of a physical altercation, a crime that likely resulted in this death.
Authorities begin collecting potential evidence. They find beer cans and duct tape, but the victim's personal effects are nowhere to be found.
There's no ID, there's no wallet, there's nothing there. And so to law enforcement, there are a couple of things going through their minds. Did this person, one, pass away here? Were they just kind of brought and left here?
Investigators could tell that the body had been there for quite some time because of the way his feet were positioned. It seemed like rigor mortis had already set and stiffening of the body limbs were already happening.
This also looks like someone that no one has been looking for. And so law enforcement are thinking, is this a situation where this is where he was staying and so he has no family?
The brutality of the slaying and the use of an abandoned house as the possible execution site leads detectives to believe that they could be dealing with either a gang or drug-related murder. The victim's body is transported to the medical examiner's office for an autopsy.
Through the dental records, they find out that this deceased person is Alan Moore.
22-year-old Alan Moore grew up on Long Island, where he endured a difficult childhood.
He didn't really have a family unit. His mother was unable to raise him. He didn't have any relationship with his father. His grandparents had at one point taken custody of him, but unfortunately they were not able to keep him, and so he had to go into the foster care system. Within the foster care system, he kind of bounced around from house to house.
Alan was diagnosed with bipolar disorder at a young age, which occasionally caused him to lash out. The instability of Alan's living situation did not help his mental health challenges.
For Alan to not really have family, or to not really have people who were behind him, it's very difficult to manage that on your own.
Alan lived in the foster care system until he aged out at 21.
Teens who age out of the foster care system, they don't have a home to go to. They often end up homeless. And so this was really what ended up being Alan Moore's fate, right? And so he kind of becomes transient. He's bouncing around from place to place, staying with friends.
Alan finally found some stability when he moved in with his grandfather in West Hempstead, New York, about 30 miles from Wyandanch.
He was trying to build a relationship where at some point he had moved in with his grandfather, and, you know, he really was trying to find a sense of belonging.
Hoping to make a fresh start, Alan got a job working as an overnight janitor at a soul food restaurant.
Alan's grandfather lived in a rough part of town, you know, at the corner of Terrace Avenue and Jackson Street in the Bedell Terrace apartments.
The Bedell Terrace apartments, they call it the Terrace Ave apartments. It's a low-income housing. It's a lot of crime there.
You know, this could have made it difficult for a kid like Alan, you know, someone who was already struggling trying to get his life moving in the right direction.
Now, investigators want to know how Alan's body wound up in an abandoned house, battered and bloody. An autopsy has confirmed that Alan was strangled to death.
The medical examiner then is able to see that he was, in essence, beaten, right? Almost tortured.
Investigators also learn Alan put up a fight.
There were skin cells underneath Alan's fingernails to indicate that he was struggling with somebody.
Given the state of his body, the medical examiner believes Alan died a few days before he was discovered.
His time of death was either the late hours of March 27th or early hours of March 28th.
The victim was found naked, but there are no signs of sexual trauma.
When you have a new body, it either indicates sexual assault or somebody's hiding identification. So whoever was responsible for this didn't want the person to be identified. It usually indicates that the person who's deceased has some type of relation to the person who's responsible.
Authorities canvass the neighborhood, but no one reports hearing or seeing anything suspicious.
When you think about a crime like this, it shows that there had to have been motive.
But who had motive to kill Alan Moore in such gruesome fashion? Little did police know Alan Moore had been the target of a sinister plot. A plot that, once exposed, would unveil a twisted web of love, loyalty, and deadly deception. On April 1st, 2017, the body of 22-year-old Alan Moore was found in an abandoned house on Long Island, New York. After conducting an autopsy, the Suffolk County medical examiner has confirmed Alan was beaten and strangled to death. Authorities learn Alan's brother, sister, and grandfather all live on Long Island, and they notify them of his death.
And when they speak with the family, it kind of hit a roadblock because Alan's sister tells detectives that she hadn't seen her brother in months.
The fact that they hadn't spoken to him in months was customary. They would hear from him for a little bit, and then he would disappear for maybe months at a time and then reappear. So when law enforcement comes around, they aren't really able to provide any information on who he's been running with.
But Alan's sister does give them a potential lead.
She says that Alan has been dating a woman named Nia Cleveland.
Investigators had suspected the motive for Alan's murder might be personal. Now they wonder if his girlfriend is somehow involved.
Nia tells the police that her and Alan dated, but they broke up about a month ago, and she hadn't seen or talked to him since March 12th or 13th.
Police ask Alan's girlfriend where she was on the night he was killed.
She's able to provide police officers with an alibi for the time frame, right, that they're thinking that Alan was killed. And with that time frame and where she says that she was, they're able to kind of clear her as a person of interest.
But Nia does point investigators to a potential motive.
A lot of people had said that he was really involved in some bad situation. Unfortunately, he was also known to walk around with a gun.
Investigators questioned people around Alan's neighborhood and learned that a month before his death, he was a suspect in a shooting at a Hempstead, New York bus station. As investigators look into the Hempstead shooting, they learn something else.
There was also an incident where Alan is jumped by a group of guys.
After searching police records, investigators learn Alan was jumped by a group of young black men about a month before his death. They beat him so severely, he had to be hospitalized for several days.
So now law enforcement are trying to figure out who these men were and why, right? And, you know, did they possibly come back to finish the job?
Investigators now have a possible motive for Alan Moore's murder, but it doesn't make finding his killers any easier.
There's so many different angles. And so trying to figure out who would want him dead, the possibilities for law enforcement and trying to trace back his life becomes very difficult.
Your numbers look great. You're making real progress. Remember, we're all in this with you. Isn't that amazing?
Suffolk County Police have learned 22-year-old Alan Moore was severely beaten by a group of young men and hospitalized a month before his murder. They are also looking into allegations that Alan was involved in a local shooting around that same time. They wonder if these two incidents are related, and if they are, did they lead to Alan's untimely death? Police canvassed the Wyandanch neighborhood where Alan was found, questioning everyone they can.
Of course, in the neighborhood that this happens in, no one is talking to law enforcement, right? We're just kind of hearing through the grapevine of, you know, it might have been this person, it might have been connected to this, but they aren't really able to substantiate any of these links that they're just kind of hearing.
Police can't find Alan's phone, but they obtain a warrant to search his social media accounts.
They're able to get into his Facebook messages. And in these Facebook messages are countless messages between him and many other women. It's clear that he had been involved, right, with many different women and was open to being sexually involved with these different women.
Investigators do a deep dive into Alan's online messages. Could one of these women have information about what happened to Alan?
So now police officers are tasked with the daunting, you know, possibility of reaching out or trying to figure out which one of these messages are actually related in any way to this crime. And so they had to kind of see which women did he actually meet up with.
Then, investigators finally uncover something promising, a message dated March 27th.
It just so happens to fall right around the time that they believe Alan was killed.
It's from a woman named Jaquana Bates, asking Alan if he'd like to get together and smoke some weed.
There's a little bit of a flirtatious nature to the text messages, right? That they're gonna meet up.
Alan thought of himself as someone who liked to play around, saw a lot of women. So when Jaquana reached out to him, he thought there was a chance to, you know, have a good time with her.
Investigators know Alan's last address was at the Bedell Terrace Apartments, in Hempstead.
One of the steps the police used to figure out what happened was reliance on cameras. And because of the high crime history of the terrace apartments, there were plenty of cameras that were established in the area.
Police get the surveillance footage from the Bedell Terrace apartments around the time that they believe Allen was murdered.
In footage time-stamped March 27th, 2:13 a.m., investigators see a white SUV pull up to the Bedell Terrace apartments. Then, they see Allen Moore exit the building.
So at 2:13 a.m., they see Allen come out of his apartment, and he goes into this car with a young woman. They can't see her face. She has a black hoodie on.
There was a guy in the front seat who got out and got in the back seat, and Allen jumped in the front seat, and the young lady wearing the hood got behind the wheel.
Additional CCTV footage tracks the SUV driving south on Terrace Avenue. The white SUV is captured on surveillance cameras intermittently for the next hour.
At 3:33 a.m., they see the white Chevrolet SUV pull up, and a red vehicle pulls up. A black male comes out of the vehicle and goes into the white Chevrolet SUV.
After 10 minutes, both vehicles leave the scene.
With the surveillance the investigators have on the vehicles, at approximately 4 a.m. is the last time that they have on site, so they lose them at that point.
Police run the license plates on the white SUV.
They were able to confirm that the SUV was registered to Daquana Bates.
Daquana Bates, the woman who sent Allen a message inviting him to meet up. Investigators are finally making headway, but then they hit a snag.
They're trying to figure out who this car belongs to, and they hit a roadblock because the registration and the license plates don't match.
One thing investigators have figured out is that the 3 people captured on video are somehow involved in Allen Moore's murder.
With the surveillance footage, investigators were actually able to confirm that these were the people that were with Allen last time he was alive.
But police still have more questions than answers. If the woman in the footage is Daquana Bates, who is the other man in the white SUV? And who was driving the red sedan?
How do we understand who these people were in this red car and how they related to the white Chevrolet SUV?
Detectives want to bring Daquana Bates in for questioning. They're hoping she will be the key to solving Allen's murder. Suffolk County Police have obtained CCTV security footage that captured murder victim Allen Moore being picked up by a woman and a man in a white SUV on the night of March 27th, 2017.
After reviewing surveillance footage, the authorities were able to determine that a white SUV met up with a red sedan, and after about 10 minutes of observation, the police noticed that both of these cars rolled off in the same direction.
Investigators have yet to positively ID these people, but they suspect them of being involved in the 22-year-old's brutal slaying, even though the footage does not place them directly at the crime scene.
At this point in their investigation, the authorities are fairly certain that Daquana Bates is the registered owner of a white Chevrolet Trailblazer, a Trailblazer which is an exact match for the vehicle that picked up Allen Moore on March 27th.
But they can't say for certain that, it's Daquana that picked up Allen because the woman in the footage is wearing a hoodie.
When investigators run the plates on the red sedan, they don't match DMV records.
During their investigation, the authorities are able to find out that the red sedan is registered to a married couple, Larry and Sonetta Dennis, who live in Bellport, Long Island.
So now investigators are wondering, what connection does this couple have with Daquana Bates and to Allen Moore?
Investigators start digging into the Dennises and learn that Sonetta has a 27-year-old son named Joshua Nickens, who lives with her and Larry. When authorities run background checks, they discover Joshua did a stint behind bars at the Gouverneur Correctional Facility, and he was just released a month earlier, in February 2017.
As investigators begin questioning individuals in Joshua's Bellport neighborhood, they find out that he has a girlfriend, and her name is Daquana Bates.
26-year-old Daquana Bates grew up in Bellport, Long Island.
She's the middle child of 3 siblings. She has a younger brother and an older sister. Father wasn't really in the life, raised by a single mom who was really doing the best she could to raise 3 kids on her own.
At some point, Daquana's mother moved them to Hempstead.
Hempstead is kind of known for being a lower income area of Nassau County. And so we kind of know that this family is doing the best that they can, what they've been given.
By most accounts, Daquana stayed out of trouble. She graduated from Hempstead High School in 2010.
We know from her family members that, Daquana was a relatively good student in high school.
At a young age, Daquana got pregnant and gave birth to a baby boy. Now, a single mom like her own mother, Daquana realized she didn't want that kind of life for herself and her child.
When you've grown up in a single parent household and doesn't really feel like she has any father figures, men kind of possibly coming in and out of the home. And so there's this kind of yearning, right, for that family unit.
Then, Daquana finds what she has been looking for when she meets Joshua Nickens.
She meets Joshua, and they kind of have this whirlwind romance, right? They fall fast, and Daquana falls hard.
Joshua brought her home to meet his mother, Sunetta Dennis, and his stepfather, Larry Dennis.
My understanding is that Sunetta's a strong character. She's the matriarch of this family.
For the first time, she's kind of seeing what a family unit looks like, right? Joshua comes from a home with mom and also has his stepdad, and they welcome Daquana in kind of with open arms, right? And she starts to feel like she really is a part of this family. And so that really binds Daquana to Joshua very quickly.
But what Daquana didn't know yet was that Joshua was in trouble.
Sometime in the relationship, Joshua does a short stint in jail. But at this point in the relationship, Daquana is sticking by her man, right? She decides to stay with him. She waits for him to come out.
Daquana and her infant son move in with Larry and Sunetta while Joshua is in jail.
Daquana felt like she had unconditional love from the Dennis family. They took her in without questions asked, and they took care of her child that wasn't their grandchild. She felt love and she felt an allegiance to them just as much as she did for Joshua.
As investigators worked to connect the dots between Daquana Bates and Alan Moore, they learned Daquana wasn't the only person Larry and Sunetta Dennis opened their home to.
If we think about Larry and Sunetta Dennis, they're kind of like the halfway house, right, for people. They're kind of taking people in, and they are very generous with their home. We know that they take in Daquana. We know that at some point, Alan is staying there.
In a surprising discovery, police learn Alan's ex-girlfriend, Nia Cleveland, is the daughter of Sunetta Dennis and Joshua Nickens' stepsister.
She was the reason why Alan Moore was often in Bellport at the Dennis home, and that's how he came to know them.
They knew he was struggling. He was bouncing from couch to couch at the time, and they wanted to help him out, and it wasn't a problem for Sunetta or Larry to let him stay there for as long as he needed.
But now, police are interested in speaking with the Dennises to find out what they might know about Alan Moore's murder.
Authorities wonder what could possibly have happened between Alan and the Dennises to lead to Alan suffering such a violent demise.
Now police consider a new motive. Did Nia find out about the other women Alan was messaging?
Is this a type of situation with a lover's scorn? Did she find out that Alan had been cheating on her behind her back and therefore gets revenge in this way?
Did Nia ask her brother Joshua to take care of Alan for her?
Or did Joshua find out what Alan had done to his sister and decide to take matters into his own hands?
Is Joshua the other man in the white SUV that picked up Alan that night?
Authorities are considering one more theory. Is it possible Daquana Bates had teamed up with Joshua Nickens and Larry Dennis to set a trap?
And Alan Moore walked right into it.
Suffolk County Police have reviewed video evidence that captured Daquana Bates's white SUV picking up Alan Moore on the night he was murdered. And they know she later met up with a red sedan, registered to Larry Dennis. As detectives work to piece together the timeline of events leading up to Alan's murder, they get an anonymous tip.
Joshua's running around town telling people about that he handled his business, that he took care of Alan.
Ironically, Joshua is the one who's talking. You know, criminals do that. Sometimes they have to brag, you know. And he's telling people that, you know, he had to set them straight.
Authorities obtain search warrants for Daquana's SUV, Larry's sedan, and the Dennis home. Among the potential evidence they recover at the residence are 2 electronic tablets, a mini computer, and a cell phone. Police also find 2 cell phones in Daquana's SUV. The cell phones prove to be the most telling. Now that authorities have the cell phone evidence, they track the movements of their suspects on the night of Alan's murder.
They were able to find the tower pings on the cell phones, which wind up indicating that these cell phones were at the scene of the crime, at the time indicated where Alan Moore was murdered.
They know that at some point in time, right, all of these people were together. We know that Daquana picks up Alan. We know Joshua's in the car. Larry joins Joshua and Daquana and Alan. But from that moment after, we have no idea what happens. They don't know exactly what happened at Wyandanch.
The cell phones become a very important piece of evidence, serving as a smoking gun in this case. One of the cell phones is registered to Daquana, and the other cell phone is registered to Alan.
Now, when they trace the cell phone towers and pings, they're able to determine that, everybody was together in Hempstead. And then 2 of them go to Wyandanch. And not only that, they met up in the exact same place where Alan is murdered, but one of them didn't return.
And authorities still don't know who killed Alan Moore. Investigators obtain arrest warrants, and on July 11th, 2017, Joshua Nickens and Daquana Bates are taken into custody in Shirley, New York.
Once Joshua and Daquana were taken in custody, they were separated and they were questioned separately.
Joshua was very quiet. Police brought in some food and fed him, hoping that would make him a more cooperating witness. However, all he did was ask for his attorney.
Joshua had just been released from prison 6 months earlier, and now he's possibly facing another prison sentence. That had to be weighing on his mind.
Across the hall, Daquana is also proving to be uncooperative.
Daquana's likely thinking, we're in this all or nothing. And so she makes the decision that she is going to go 100% full force with Joshua and do this for him, right? And stay tight-lipped.
Aside from protecting her man, there's something else weighing on Daquana. She is several months pregnant with Joshua's baby.
She's just thinking about the life that's growing inside of her and how she cannot allow Joshua to go back to prison and not be a father to her child.
Later that same day, police arrest a 3rd suspect in Alan Moore's murder, Joshua's stepdad, Larry Dennis. But unlike Joshua and Daquana, Larry is more than willing to talk.
Larry Dennis, when he was arrested, told detectives plenty.
Larry tells police that Alan dated his stepdaughter, Nia Cleveland, in 2016, and that Alan frequently stayed at the Dennis home while Joshua was in jail. But Larry says in February of 2016, Alan took advantage of their generosity.
We find out that Alan stole a PlayStation from the home.
At some point, Joshua makes a call back home, and they're telling him about the fact that this guy, Alan, had the nerve to steal the PlayStation. This is how infuriating the parents were about this. Like, somebody coming into the home that they allowed in, they fed you, and you got the nerve to steal the PlayStation out of the house?
Sunetta, she feels hurt when she feels like this person who'd been in their home has betrayed them. And Josh is her son. He wants to do right by his mom. And she wants him to do what needs to be done.
He becomes very agitated. He takes this very personally. And so while he's in prison, he's already kind of making claims that, when he gets out, Alan is gonna pay.
Larry says when Joshua was released from prison in February 2017, he told Larry, Sunetta, and Daquana that they needed to get revenge on Alan, and they came up with a plan.
He told them of his involvement, and he told them that he was aware that Josh had gone too far, done more than what the plan was.
Larry says the plan was to rough up Alan for stealing the PlayStation and teach him a lesson about disrespecting people. But Joshua went overboard.
Larry didn't know what was going to happen either because he was easily led by those around him.
He, in his statement to law enforcement, notes that Joshua took things too far, that this wasn't their intention, but that Joshua has a tendency to do this, right? To take things too far.
Larry says he tried to stop his stepson, but he was out of control. Larry said he regretted his involvement in Alan's murder. As investigators had suspected, Alan Moore was killed in a revenge plot, but not for cheating on Nia Cleveland. It was over a video game. A few months later, on September 18th, Sunetta Dennis is arrested at a local restaurant. Like her husband, she gives a full confession about her involvement in Alan's murder.
It's interesting that the parents are the ones who ended up talking because they were the primary ones who were egging on this revenge plot, this teaching Alan a lesson. I think in all of this, no one anticipated that Joshua would take things to the level that it went. And so once it got that far, it's almost as if Larry and Sunetta had already decided that they're not going down for this.
Sunetta reiterates that the plan was to beat Alan up, not kill him. Sunetta says in the early morning hours of March 27th, Larry called and asked her to meet him, Joshua, and Daquana in West Hempstead. Then Sunetta returned home, where she waited for Larry to call her to pick him up. She says Daquana and Joshua returned home several hours later, at 7 a.m.
At that point, Daquana told her that Alan was dead and that Joshua strangled him. I don't think Sunetta thought it was gonna go that far. I honestly don't think any of them did. But by the time, it was no turning back.
Suffolk County Police have arrested 26-year-old Daquana Bates, 27-year-old Joshua Nickens, and 49-year-old Larry Dennis for the murder of Alan Moore. 43-year-old Sunetta Dennis, who has yet to be charged in connection with the murder, says her son Joshua killed Alan in a revenge plot gone awry. Eventually, Daquana also makes a full confession.
Daquana, along with Larry and Sunetta, said that Joshua came up with a plan to get Alan back for stealing his PlayStation and disrespecting the family, and that he asked her to help him along with the plan.
She had this family that she went home to, and they took care of her, and she took care of them, and she had an allegiance to that family because of that.
That allegiance drove Daquana to make a fateful decision. She says, at Joshua's request, she found Alan online and sent him a message.
Daquana lures Alan in through a Facebook message, posing as someone who wants to get to know him, says that, do they want to smoke or whatever.
Alan fell for the ruse and agreed to meet Daquana on the night of March 27th, 2017. Daquana says before arriving, they dropped Larry off on a side street.
Daquana picks him up at that apartment where he's staying at in West Hempstead at 2:13 a.m. and with Joshua in the car.
Daquana tells Alan that Joshua is her brother and that she needs to drop him off somewhere. And after that, they can go smoke weed.
Alan says, no problem, right? Doesn't see an issue with this.
From there, they drove to the location where Larry was waiting.
His specific role wasn't clear at the beginning, but it later emerged that he was a big guy, so he was sort of like the projected muscle. He was there for intimidation.
When Alan saw Larry, he became alarmed, sensing he was in danger.
Alan recognizes Larry. Knowing what he did, he jumps out of the car and starts running. Joshua and Larry catch up with Alan, pistol whip him, get him back in the car, tie him up.
Daquana tells police that after a brief meeting with Sunetta, she, Joshua, and Larry drove around until they found an abandoned house in Wyandanch. Larry stayed in the car while she and Joshua took Alan into the basement.
DeQuana's thinking that we're just gonna beat him up, teach him a lesson, teach him not to disrespect our home, and then we're gonna leave him there.
Once in the basement, DeQuana says she kicked Alan.
DeQuana had signed up for a beating. She was fine with kicking him. She was fine with hitting him. It became something more than that.
At some point, DeQuana gets concerned. She watches Joshua start to choke Alan and continue to choke Alan to the point where he's losing breath, he's losing consciousness.
Josh had a ligature around Alan's neck, and he was strangled to death in front of her eyes.
There's a lot of things going through DeQuana's head, I'm sure, trying to figure out what exactly did she wrap herself into. DeQuana almost has to make a decision on the spot, right? What am I gonna do? And so in this moment, she's thinking, we're a family, and so we're gonna deal with this together.
DeQuana says they stripped Alan's clothes, collected his belongings, and returned home. That's when Joshua realized he lost something that could tie him back to the murder.
Joshua realizes that he loses his phone, and Sunita goes back to where they met up with each other before to see if they can find Josh's phone somewhere on the floor.
But the phone is never recovered. DeQuana says later that day, they burned Alan's clothes and belongings. On March 1st, 2019, authorities had enough to charge Joshua Nickens.
We took a plea deal. He pled guilty to murder in the first degree, 2 counts of murder in the second degree, and 1 count of kidnapping in the first degree. He was sentenced to 20 years to life.
At the sentencing hearing, Suffolk County District Attorney Timothy D. Sini said he believed Joshua got what he deserved.
The district attorney said that Alan's murder was a heinous act that was fueled by revenge. Kill somebody for suspecting that they stole a video game, that's just incomprehensible.
Sunetta Dennis was charged with murder in the second degree, and Larry Dennis was charged with murder in the second degree and kidnapping in the first degree. DeQuana Bates was charged with murder in the second degree and kidnapping in the first degree.
DeQuana eventually took a deal, resulting in her plea to a lesser charge of manslaughter, and as a result, she was sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Nia Cleveland was cleared of any wrongdoing in Alan's murder. The people responsible
representation of what any woman would want in a man, right? Somebody who's going to protect you at all costs, somebody who's going to provide for you. And so for women who don't have that, who don't come from those backgrounds, ending up in such unhealthy relationships and having to make difficult decisions.
Some women take making sacrifices for the good of the family to a whole new level. For some, it means protecting them by standing by your man, no matter the cost. But when the cost is your freedom, your family, and your man, you have to ask yourself, did you make